You're listening to Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast. Comics, television, movies, and more. If it impacts fan culture, we have something to say about it. And now, your hosts, Jordan, Cliff, and Seth.
Hello and welcome back to a special episode of Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast. We've got a top 10 for you, which we know you'll enjoy. My name is Jordan Lowe.
I'm Cliff Barnes.
Seth.
And Russ.
Oh, sorry. See, Zoom.
That's how we do it.
Damn you, Zoom.
We talk over each other and even our esteemed guests. Welcome, Russ, back to the show.
Hey, Russ Casseday, yes.
He comes for the best stuff. Video games and toys. I mean,
hey.
I wish that's all I came here for.
Me too. So this is your second time on the show, and I don't remember how long ago we did video games. It seems like forever ago, but it probably wasn't that long ago.
At least a year.
It's been a while, yeah.
Yeah. So
what do we do? What's the top 10?
Well, we are in the midst of quarantine procedures here in Ohio. Pop culture has been limited. We're not going out to see movies or anything, so we thought we hadn't done a top 10 in a while, so we wanted to do that. Right. And Cliff Barnes had a suggestion that we do the top 10 toy lines of all time, which actually I think his suggestion was the top 10 action figure.
Yeah.
He tried to shoehorn us into that, and I wasn't.
So we thought maybe expand it. It doesn't have to be an action figure. It could be any sort of toy, any brand, any type of toy.
Yeah. But there are going to be stipulations. Otherwise, we'd have there's no video games.
Right.
It has to be a toy. No board games. No BMX bikes.
Those are all different shows.
No skateboards or big wheels, no sporty things. It's not like they try to enter toys in the Hall of Fame, and I think the first one was like a stick. Oh, no, none of that garbage. Toys. We want toys.
It was interesting researching this and actually seeing all the different things, and I'm like, these are games. Atari is not a toy.
Right.
It's just
right. Yeah. So, sounds like you're on the same page. And here's how our new way of doing a top 10, at least this time, we'll change it up all the time, but the way we do it now is we're just going to each take turns nominating something to be in our top 10. And we'll throw it out there, discuss that toy line to exhaustion, and then decide as a group whether we think it should definitely be in the top 10, definitely not, or if we're going to put it to the side to pick from a pool later to fill in the top 10. Right. So it's a community top 10. This is the Ka-Pow top 10, and your pick, Russ, is just as important as ours. You're on the show, so you are helping cement this in there. So,
and we had a few suggestions from our Facebook friends, so we'll throw those out as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We're going to the whole point is to get to talk about a bunch of toys, so
right.
We'll talk about everything we can think of.
And I threw in there, I wanted to throw in at the end of this whole thing, I thought something extra we could do for a change with this subject is we could all we'll pick our favorite toy manufacturer, our favorite toy company, not a particular line, but who's the best? Is it Mattel or Hasbro, whatever it is? So,
what a twist.
And right up front, we should probably stipulate we're not deeming all-time toys for everyone. This is our list, Ka-Pow.
Yeah, don't add us.
Are all very similarly demographic. Yeah. We grew up around the same era. We're all four males. Ka-Pow, we switched between 3 people and 4, so now we're back to 4. We have 4 males of a certain age So our picks are going to skew in that direction. These are boys' toys, as they used to be called, where everything, the toy aisles were all segregated. Boys pick from one shop, girls pick from another.
We'll talk up some girl stuff. Luckily, we had some submissions from a member of our cast, and Valerie gave us some great suggestions and reminders. So we'll discuss all those. And hey, there's a chance that we may all be on the same page, and some of this stuff deserves to be on there.
Yeah, don't ever question our wokeness.
I'm just warning everyone, it's going to skew 80s. It's going to skew male.
Yeah.
That's who we are. We're 80s boys.
Yeah, most of us have daughters too, so.
Yeah.
Right.
So who wants to throw something out there and strategically
there's a strategy
throw something
here
out there? Yeah, because
it was Cliff's idea. He should.
Okay.
Oh well. Okay. Honors to go to me. Let's throw something out there that isn't too obvious. So for me, one of my earliest lines I collected, and it's a line I remember being very excited about. I remember when they came out in '85. Remember the first one I had, and I remember what store I bought it at.
Oh my God.
It was the Kenner Superpowers line, the DC Comics, because I know you guys love DC. DC Comics line that came out in '85. It was, I grew up watching Super Friends in all the iterations of that show. So this was the first time I could have the toy that matched somewhat the show.
Coming from the farthest reaches of the universe to challenge the worst villains on Earth are the most powerful heroes ever in the battle of the Superpowers Collection. What's this? The dam's about to blow and take Robin with it? Who'll stop the Joker and Luther?
Aquaman!
Kenner's new Superpowers Collection. Figures with power action, each sold separately with its own mini-comic.
Aquaman, help!
Who can help now? A power ring, a power action punch.
It is the bomb!
Can this madness be stopped in time? You did.
The first one I had was The Flash, and then I got Batman very shortly after that. And I just remember collected a few more, and then that following Christmas, would have been Christmas '85, I got the rest of the entire original line, the figure set.
And the Wonder Twins?
No Wonder Twins. It had
no
Gleek.
No Gleek, but it had really cool villains. It had the Joker and the Penguin and Brainiac, all these, and other cool hero characters that you couldn't find, like Hawkman and Green Lantern and Aquaman. Aquaman. But it had really cool accessories. The Batmobile was a really popular one. I had the Batmobile. They all had play functions too. Most of the figures, if you squeezed their legs, they punched or twisted around or whatever. And then the vehicles had, the Batmobile had a function where it had a battering ram on the front. When you push the button and it shot, you could hit your villain before you ran him over. It also had the Hall of Justice, which was also doubled as a carrying case, but it was a big, huge one of the better play sets of the 80s, I thought. It looked except it was yellow, but it looked just like the Hall of Justice on the show. So
yeah, I didn't have any of these toys, but my neighbors had a handful. They had the Hall of Justice, but they left it in the yard. That was where they kept it, just sitting out in the yard. And even at that age, it broke my heart that they had this amazing play set and they were taking zero care of it.
All right, so that's not a shoe-in, I don't think, right? Does anybody feel like that immediately needs to go in the top 10?
It's a good pick. I hadn't actually thought of it, but that's a very good pick.
Yeah, I hadn't actually thought of it.
I didn't know any.
Thanks, guys. You're really helping me out.
It's still in there. We can pick from it later. It's right in the top of the pile there.
It's one of one right now.
Yes, if we had to stop now, it's number one.
But yeah, for comic book fans, that's an important line. Like after Mego, like that was where we got.
Yeah, and this is the way I always heard it was, if you remember back then, this was the set that inspired the Marvel Secret Wars collection that came out shortly after, the guys with the shields. They came out as competition shortly after that, but this line was way superior.
All right, well, let's go. Let's let our guest throw a line of toys out there. What do you got?
All right, this one might be one of the more predictable things.
Yeah, I know what it is.
but seeing my son play with them and my daughter playing with them, Matchbox / Hot Wheels race cars, little race cars.
Hot Wheels Flying Colors cars, $4.75. Gold. They're bright. Competition gold. Stars on white. Some have stripes. Some have stripes. Some have flames, but not one of them looks the same. Some ride wide. Some ride low. And when you want them to, they really go. The new Hot Wheels Flying Colors cars. 24 cars in all, each sold separately from Mattel.
I mean, just the amount of them that they have created over the years, and I mean, it just everything.
Do you know when?
There you go.
Do you know?
It's in my basement.
When that line started, was it in the 60s or earlier?
That line started, I believe, in the late 40s or 50s.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, Matchbox came first. Hot Wheels came later, and I read that Matchbox actually didn't make their track system until the 70s to compete with Hot Wheels. So, but yeah, when it was a guy that was basically his daughter wanted the Queen's carriage shrunk so that she could play with it. So he just made it so small that it would fit inside of a Matchbox, and that's where they got the name. So.
And still huge today. Still, I mean, there are Matchbox conventions. There are people who just sell, eBay stores and flea markets. Like it's still going. And you can't say that about everything we're going to nominate today. That there's still a vibrant community behind it.
This is a very universal toy, I think. This is something that just boys.
I still look for Hot Wheels when I go in the toy section. I've collected Hot Wheels my whole life. I don't talk about it very much. I do have a stand in my living room with a bunch of movie cars of Hot Wheels and models like that, but I just have always loved. A friend of mine always collected model cars, and they're so cheap. Go get them for $1. You can go anywhere. You can we'd spend every weekend. At some point, we'd be stopping at department stores checking out the Hot Wheels aisles, because you might find one you don't have that's cool. And it's like, I love Hot Wheels.
And that was one when you were on a little kid on the trip to the store with your mom or your dad or whatever, and maybe they won't buy me this guy over here that I want, but I know I can get that Matchbox car. That's
the last thing you try for. If you've been told no and everything else, come on, this is $1.
Right.
You don't love me $1.
Yeah, I definitely had, Hot Wheels, Matchbox, whatever. I couldn't have told you the difference but this one's Hot Wheels, this one's Matchbox. I didn't care. They were just cars. And I vividly remember I was very into the Dukes of Hazzard at that, time period when it was on, and even a little after that. And I remember it was a big deal that, I'd get in the General Lee, and I got Uncle Jesse's truck and Daisy's Jeep and the, Boss Hogg's car and Roscoe's patrol car, all that stuff.
Love it. So you're on board with me and Russ and Jordan.
Oh, he's throwing you in there, Jordan.
I'm going for it.
You just come along.
I'm just trying to back up the guest here. You guys can have a little hospitality.
I mean, it's definitely in the discussion. I wouldn't kick it out immediately.
I think it should be in the top 10 automatically.
Oh.
Russ, how strongly is this one of your top things? I mean,
I think this is, when I looked at the toys that had replayability, can be played by both boys and girls. Most often geared towards boys, but I mean, I see Abigail play with Christopher all the time in their cars, and I mean, they pretend with everything. To me, I had it pretty high up the list, top 3 for sure.
Yeah,
it's definitely in my top 5.
Yeah, I mean, personally, it wasn't, that high for me, but I totally get it. Like, I understand, these have been around for, 40s or whatever we were talking about forever. This has got the longevity that's still popular. Like, I totally get that this could be top 10 right here.
All right, Cliff, you talked me into it. I'm on board. Put it in the list.
All right.
Cliff's passionate speech there just won me over.
He's like, Cliff's like, what happened?
Okay.
All right, Jordan, what do you got?
Ninja Turtles off my list right now.
Why be coy about it? I'm going with my number 1 right out of the gate. We're going to add the second one to the list here. Began in 1964 as a line of 12-inch figures and the 4 branches of the military. Hasbro's G.I. Joe, were the ones we know and love, the Real American Hero, 1982.
He'll fight for freedom wherever there's trouble. G.I. Joe is there. It's here, the G.I. Joe collection. Infantry Trooper. Codename Grunt. Bazooka Soldier. Codename Zap. Motor Soldier. Codename Short Fuse. Laser Rifle Trooper. Codename Flash. Ranger. Codename Stalker. Communications Officer. Codename Breaker. Machine Gunner. Codename Rock and Roll. Counterintelligence. Codename Scarlet. Commando. Codename Snake Eyes. Each sold separately. G.I. Joe from Hasbro.
Shrunk down to 3 3/4 scale. Blew up pop culture. It was my first, I don't know the word fandom or whatever. I don't like throwing that word around, but it was the first thing I loved in pop culture. And I don't know, it's still one of my favorite things today.
Still one of your favorite things to play with? Is that what you're saying?
I still read the comic. Mr. Larry Hama still puts out a comic every month.
Yeah. Well, yeah, this is I loved G.I. Joe, of course, and bought tons of the figures, read the comics, just watched the cartoons. It was on 7 o'clock Saturday morning. I had to set an alarm. It was the only day of the week I would as a kid. Get my beanbag out, pull it in front of the TV, and watch G.I. Joe. Pew, pew, pew.
Yeah, I was definitely. I was very proud of the collection of G.I. Joes I had as a child. Definitely top 3 for me. Watched the cartoon every weekday afternoon. It was on after school for years and years. I didn't care if they reran the same episodes all the time. Did not matter. Could not get enough of G.I. Joe. And it was interesting, when the quarantine started, Hasbro released the original series to YouTube for everybody to watch. And the amazing pop culture reaction, 40 years later, really surprised me how popular to this day that line is. I mean, for, folks our age, that was a major thing in our life for a long time.
It was huge. I mean, the universe that they built and then built. I mean, it's the characters, everything. I mean, they've tried to revitalize it a couple times with a couple very poor movies, but at the same time, the cartoon and the figures were just outstanding. I mean, even the posability. There was no other figure like that had the articulation.
And I think that was really the first one that had the word articulation.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's what I was reading up on it today. It said they wanted to get it down to the Star Wars scale, 3 3/4, but they wanted a little bit more, the elbow joints and stuff to give it a little bit more, and then the accessories they put on. And it's just super innovative as well, because there were rules back then about advertising toys and what kind of commercials you could have. So they decided to make animated commercials. So they basically aired little 30-second cartoons, and they're like, we're not advertising toys, we're advertising this cartoon. Isn't it cool? And then they put out the comic book, and that took off and became one of the best-selling comics of the 80s. And it was all just getting you to buy the toys. every issue of the comic, like, hey, jump in this new Jeep, guys. We got to go fight Cobra. And it's like you read it now and you can see it so plainly that they just keep introducing characters and vehicles and playsets.
But the vehicles were just so awesome.
Yeah, and the original
carrier.
Yeah, the USS Flag was like 8 feet long. The original 13, I think, was it 12 or 13 in 82? I think it was 13.
Sounds right, yeah.
Yeah. So the original line was a little bit different in the joint and the head movement, the elbows, and I think at the forearm, they were a little bit more straightforward than the ones we probably actually remember, unless you had a bunch of those. They were also all more realistic. They all wore the same, green uniform variation. I still remember the first one I got. Do you guys remember the first figure you had?
I thought you were asking us if I remember the first figure you got.
Yeah, I was going to say.
The Flash!
The Snake Eyes?
It wasn't Snake Eyes. It was Stalker. I remember I had Stalker.
I knew the first one I got was Firefly.
Okay. And then I got the Vamp with Clutch. And then shortly, I remember a birthday or Christmas shortly after that, where I got the Wild Bill and the
airplane.
No, the helicopter. So,
yeah.
This is a sure thing, right, guys? This is going on the list.
Yep, on the list.
But you have to give credit to Larry Hama there, where the figures in conception were just generic army guys.
Mm-hmm.
So he wrote all the file cards that went on the back, gave them all names, personalities, backstories, hometowns. So you could really fall in love with these guys and have favorites. This guy's from Columbus, Ohio. I know where that is. It just made him so much more alive.
That's where Grunt lived.
Yeah. The best Grunt.
But he based the characters on a lot of people he served with in Vietnam, correct?
Yes. And then took the comic, the assignment nobody wanted. Nobody wanted to write this comic. It was a toy tie-in. And turned it into just a beloved 80s run of comics. And it was also important, the fandom, he's always said, was almost 50% girls who wrote into the letters column, because they were such strong female characters as well, who were just as all equal with the guys. So it was a hit from all kids in the 80s, I think, were impacted some way by G.I. Joe.
Okay, moving on. It's on the list. This is really easy, guys.
You can't resist Sergeant Slaughter or William Perry.
That's right.
All right, mine. I'll just throw in one. This is for boys and girls. Dates back to 1932 in Denmark, where they introduced and started building Lego bricks.
The Legoland Beta 1 command base. You build it for action. You can pretend the radar sounds an alert, a signal to the crew. So you slide them to the launch pad for a make-believe rescue. And how about the new mobile rocket transport? You can drive it over make-believe craters, then get ready for flight. You can lower the rocket, pretend to fire, and blast it out of sight. The action's up to you. The new Legoland mobile rocket transport from the Legoland collection. Legoland Beta 1 command base sold separately from Lego Systems.
And famously, before we start talking about this, Cliff and Jordan are not Lego fans, and that blows my mind. I have built Lego my whole life.
It's in my top 10 here. I've got it here.
Okay, well, I just you guys have said that, but it's like I played with Legos my whole life. I had a million sets when I was a kid. As my kids been growing up, every time we went to Toys R Us, that's the last stop before you got to the end of Toys R Us, was at the Lego section. I mean, he's wrote book reports on it. We've constantly built. We've spent our favorite show the last 10 weeks has been Lego Masters. It's just the most phenomenal toy system of just being able to build whatever you want, or to be able to follow intricate instructions to build things you may not be able to yourself. And just, it's an incredible system. I love it. I think it's one of the best toys ever invented, and I think it should be on the list.
Yeah,
Go
ahead,
you can't
Russ.
deny it. You can't deny the power of these interlocking blocks. I mean, they've spawned so many other. I mean, the Duplo and all of those other, basically,
knockoffs
type of system. Yeah, it's the same type of system, but I mean, it's just the fact that it's been around for so long, and they're able to, always come out with something new for pop culture, based on movies and comics and everything else. And there's so many different sets. I don't like how expensive they are, but I mean that you can't deny the fact that they are. It is a crazy system that they have, and they've made a lot of money off of it.
I'll never forget when we went in 2009, Cliff, when we all went to Disney World and we found that Lego store down there. We'd never been to one, and that was, it's a pretty big one. And when Nick walked in there, I mean, he lost his mind. It's just like a wall of bricks, and you could fill up a cup with all the bricks, and he was just so Lego crazy at the time. And it's just such a great idea to be able to use your imagination and build whatever the heck you want. Plus, licensing of franchises does drive the price up, but it's still they can have whoever they want because it's such a big, popular system. I love it.
I had a bunch as a kid, but I was out of it by the time that blew up. So the ones I'm remembering beyond just generic, bricks,
right,
where you could have the pirate theme, or you build the firehouse, and then you'd have the ambulance and the fire truck. Like, it was themed. There's a town theme, and then there's the outer space theme. So it was just generic, but it still let you use your imagination. And there was the medieval theme, horses and castles, and so it was really expansive even before they branched into pop culture. And that just took it to a whole other level with Star Wars and Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter and everything you can think of.
Yeah, I don't hate Lego. I just wasn't a Lego kid. And
you just don't like stepping on
them. Right, yeah. I definitely don't like stepping on them. I think my issue why I never got into it was because there was no Lego cartoon. Most of the things I loved because I was an idiot kid that they were selling these commercials to, and I was eating it up. Like, as soon as the new show would come on, man, I got to have that toy. I got to go get that right now. I need them all. So it's got
to be on the list somewhere, right?
Sure.
All right.
I even sent away it was a little tool that was like a little wrench thing for if you had two pieces stuck together. It was a way to like pry them apart. So when I play with them, I had kept my handy tool with me as well. So I never had that problem of the Legos, the little skinny pieces all stuck together.
All right.
We got
back to Cliff.
8 minutes.
Okay, you do yours, then we'll start over.
Okay. Okay, so my turn. Let's throw something out from the 80s. Mask.
Mask, where illusion is the ultimate weapon.
Convert Switchblade to jet mode. Surprise, Mac Tracker. It's mayhem. Battle station. Protect the decoder, Bruce. I'm going up. Stacks ready to fire.
Mask, Switchblade, Thunderhawk, and Rhino.
Fire!
Each sold separately with action figure.
Cover me, Matt. 10-4. Sato's getting away. But you're not, Mayhem.
Mask, Switchblade, Thunderhawk, and Rhino. Each sold separately. New from Kenner.
Hey, I didn't laugh at Legos. Yeah. Did anybody hear?
I never even heard of Mask until like a year or two ago when you guys were talking about it.
Yeah, Mobile Armed Strike Command with a K. It was.
If I'd have known it had a K.
That's right. It was. This was one of those shows though that had a great TV theme, probably the best '80s cartoon theme song, better than G.I. Joe. I have to say. But this was, it was a great theme song. But this was a line. It came from Kenner Toys. They were part die-cast. It was 2-inch figures, I do believe. Every figure had a different mask that matched their uniform with a different power on the show. And then they all had their own vehicle. You had the good guys and the bad guys, the Venom versus Mask. Mask were the good guys. Matt Tracker had the Camaro, like the Z28 Camaro. The wings popped out, and it would fly. But the thing that made this great was this line looked like the cartoon you watched every day. They looked like real cars. They were kind of like Transformers a little bit, and they had, they turned from a plane to a helicopter, or a motorcycle to a helicopter, or you had the big semi that was kind of like
slash helicopter.
Yeah, slash helicopter. But and it had a great play set with it. That it was the big gas station with the mountain behind it that was their command center, and it looked exactly like the cartoon show. Everything looked exactly like it should. It wasn't like, Star Wars. We love Star Wars and Kenner toys, but the figures, Han Solo with that gigantic head or that tiny head didn't really look like Harrison Ford. Luke Skywalker had a yellow lightsaber in the toy. So this was kind of the first one I was like, man, this really looks like what I'm watching on TV. I really love that. They were heavy duty toys, very, very detailed. And I just thought they were a great collection out there.
Did you guys have Mask toys? Did you play with or watch the cartoon?
I played with them and I watched the cartoon, but I had them on my honorable mentions.
Okay.
Well, I remember the semi. I remember the Camaro. I remember the motorcycle. I did not remember Venom, the being the bad group,
the bad guys. Yeah.
But it was we had all the toys.
Yeah, I remember some friend of mine had them on. I remember playing with them. We never owned any, and I don't remember the cartoon at all. I don't remember ever watching it.
Yeah, I never heard of it.
It's just a blank spot for me, and there's that 80s year.
I think it was on 2 seasons. I think 85 and 86, if I remember correctly. I think the toy line ran from like 85 to 88, maybe. Off the top of my head, I could be wrong. But the only problem I ever had with this set, because it was so wonderful and fun to play with, was it was a different scale than my Star Wars figures and my G.I. Joe figures, which were, that 3 3/4 inch. These were smaller. And they were smaller. The only thing they probably were more relative to like Transformers and some of the size, because Transformers would be all over the place in different, figures. But yeah, so if it doesn't make it, we talked about it. I'm happy with that.
It still has a chance. We got it here on the list to pick from later. Yeah, I expected it to get some talk here.
Yeah, I know it's one of the big 80s properties, and to me it always seemed, like you said, it almost had the Transformer feel. It was almost like a crossover between Transformers and G.I. Joe, because you had the characters, and then you had their vehicles, and when IDW did their big Hasbro mash everything together universe, that's kind of the way they went. They used Transformer technology to build their cars, and they had recruited people from G.I. Joe, so like. Even they went that direction, that it all kind of it felt like both those properties, but just its own thing.
Yeah, the 2017 Revolution mashup that Hasbro was trying to build that universe, which wasn't bad. I was probably the only one that bought that comic series, but I enjoyed it, and that's kind of, as a kid, that's how I played with it. Was it was like, well. If you combine, which I normally didn't do, I didn't combine universes a lot, but it was kind of one of those, why are you so small? Well, this is what we look like. And
we're on Earth 616.
Right.
Time's ticking. All right, Russ, you're next. What do you got?
Oh, man. I'm not sure which one I should go with. I don't know if you guys will consider this in the top 10 or not, but it's something that my kids have been like begging to play with like constantly. And that is Play-Doh.
Play-Doh. They love it.
That's That's because they can do so much with it.
You're the Play-Doh boy.
Right. Kids love to squish it and squash it and roll it. But most of all, kids like Play-Doh because they can make anything they imagine.
I remember you.
I remember you, too. Play-Doh. Touch me like all this, Mommy.
Oh, I had a little help.
Play-Doh.
Oh, wow.
Which started off back in the 50s or 60s. Some guy basically used wallpaper cleaner because it was mashable. And he ended up getting a lot of requests from schools in Cincinnati. So he started sending it out to all these schools in Cincinnati. And it started getting packaged and colored and everything else. And now they make all those. I remember playing with, as a kid, there was a barber shop.
Yep.
Like you squeeze the
Press
handle
the
and
thing,
the hair comes out. I mean, yeah.
Cut it.
Yep. And my 4-year-old's still beg every day. Can we put the Play-Doh? Like, yeah, we can. But you know what? It's only going to last 2 days because you're going to leave it out and it's going to get hard.
Well, I also had Play-Doh in my close to the top 10. I hadn't figured out if it's in there or not, but it's definitely a contender for me. I love Play-Doh. I love getting that out and, playing with my kid, playing with it when I was a kid, all the different things you can do. Just squeeze it, make it spaghetti. That's the main, basically you're just squeezing it through things.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I would have never even thought of Play-Doh.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it didn't even cross my...
You can't leave it out to the air for very long, but, you got to make sure to put it away or it's trash.
The dog eats it.
Yeah.
Gets in the carpet. Mom's
It's really
carpet,
salty.
It's
tastes
in carpet.
That was my problem. Is I was way too OCD, and I would see the packages,
Yeah.
and you can make someone with red limbs and green hair, and you could not mix them. Once you mixed it, they were ruined.
I'm the same way, Jordan. I hated when my Play-Doh colors got mixed together. It pissed me off. I'm done with them.
We heard. You don't even like to mix your action figures together.
Damn straight.
The Play-Doh, it felt there's a residue. It left, it could make a mess on the furniture. It got all mixed up. It dried out. I couldn't.
You'll make a great mom someday.
Yes,
Jordan.
I didn't want any part of it.
No Play-Doh in my house.
I appreciate its place in history, but it was not for me.
Yeah, agreed.
Well, I'm going to add it to the side list here so that we can pick from at the end, but I like that contender. All right, Jordan.
All right, I will throw out one based on a cartoon based on a movie. Toy line ran from 1986 to 1991. The Real Ghostbusters.
There's something strange in the neighborhood.
So who you gonna call? Ghostbusters! Each sold separately.
Have no fear. Venkman, Stampy, and Spengler are here. So are these ghosts. They've got ectoplasm. We've been goofed. Now what? Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Let's show this pile of dessert who's boss. Activate Neutrona Blaster. We ain't afraid of no ghosts.
Peter Venkman, Ectoplasm, Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, and other figures each sold separately. Ghostbusters, new from Kenner.
Oh, I had this too.
So the cartoon, I was not the biggest Ghostbusters movie fan, but I love the cartoon to death. It was like my favorite cartoon of that era, and and for whatever reason, the toys, I think I owned more Ghostbusters toys than anything else. Like I had the Firehouse and the Ecto-1 and everything that came out from that line. I'm not sure why, but something about that line clicked with me so much. The cartoon just it was perfect for me. That the age I was then, and all the characters, they would have different features, little ghosts. They would look normal, and you'd pull it up and it'd be a monster inside or whatever. They had some neat. It was not the best sculpts and playability of the era, but I was head over heels for these toys.
Yeah, this was definitely a really good line, and the cartoon ran for a long time. I was a huge Ghostbusters movie guy. I remember going to see it in the theater with my aunt, and I love that movie. It was one of the first 3 we had on VHS when we got a VCR. I wasn't a big fan of the cartoon, and I think it's because I love the movie, and it wasn't like the movie. I mean, it was, but it was a little too different for me.
Yeah, I didn't have that connection to the original, so I just loved the cartoon for what it was.
I still had some of the toys. I think I had some. I probably had the main 4 Ghostbusters, and I remember the little
PKE meter.
Well, the PKA, yeah, but their what's their gun thing?
The proton packs.
Yeah, the proton packs.
They had the playset or the costuming thing. They had the trap you could stomp on, and you could wear the proton pack. They had they went all out for for playability for sure.
And this was also Kenner line. Man, they were huge in the 80s. But yeah, it was really good. I agree. I had this I had written down. It was a great line of toys. I know it's still really popular. Anybody else have it?
Too hot to handle.
I completely forgot about Ghostbusters.
Okay,
nope.
So
I like the movies fine. I did not ever watch the cartoon. I know what it is. I was too old for it, I'm sure. I'm not taking anything away from it. It would be on my list, but it may mean something more to you guys.
I believe the cartoon won some Emmys. Like, it was a pretty acclaimed for a dumb kids cartoon. It was pretty acclaimed for
That's the award it won. Dumbest kids cartoon.
No, I remember some of the villains, the ghosts from this line. Like, they had some pretty cool. You get like Dracula and Frankenstein. The Mummy, I think, was another one. Like, they had it was a cool line. It had cool, ghost villains that you caught, and your Ghostbusters.
We're in control.
Okay. Moving on. Whose turn?
It's my turn.
Okay.
All right, I'm going big. 1969.
That's your favorite year?
Nice.
Nerf.
Face it, you're either on one end of a Nerf weapon or the other. Time to choose. So, you better think about getting yourself a bow and arrow or a Nerf missile storm. Excuse me, don't you just love this? Or an arrow storm. Or a very good hiding place. Don't you get it?
Nerf.
Nerf.
Come
Or
on.
nothing.
They got balls and guns and darts and everything. Everybody's got if you have kids, you have 1,000 Nerf guns and bullets around everywhere. We've all played it. Cliff, your kids played it over here. There's just I loved playing it as a kid. We all had Nerf footballs thrown around the yard with big rips out of them where the dog bit it or something.
Yeah, definitely. That's what I played with the most were the Nerf footballs. If you ask my kids, they would probably tell you, yeah, that's top 10. If you're asking me, maybe not so much.
Oh man, it's just a way to be able to play war and actually shoot things at other people. It was like it scratched that G.I. Joe itch. We could play war in our yards. The whole street is a battleground, and we make teams with our walkie-talkies, another great toy, and just shoot. You could shoot each other.
I had it all lumped together with toy guns, squirt guns, Nerf guns, laser tag. I mean, it was all, basically, it was cowboy dress up, basically, yeah.
But as a toy line, this is the top of the heap there with the of the guns and there was a lot of things you could do with the Nerf.
It's funny you said Nerf football because I wouldn't until you said it. I didn't think about it, but I can still remember that wet, muddy, soaked Nerf football with the chunk out of it.
Yep.
up against you, like hit me in the face
every time you come.
Oh
again, there's still every toy store. We have toy stores have a full aisle of Nerf stuff, and the technology has just grown where there are, you can buy a magazine of like 30 darts that can, things we would have never believed as a kid, but it's still going strong.
Yeah, and maybe that's why I don't feel so attached to it, is because I don't remember as a kid having like a bunch of the guns. I had toy guns, laser, ones that made all different types of sounds. I had the I didn't have laser tag, but I had like one of the knockoffs.
Buddy, I always keep one handy.
And but I don't remember having having the Nerf guns. I remember like the cheap single shooter dart guns more than I remember the Nerf brand.
Well, I had in my honorable mentions, where this is probably a good time to throw it out there, was the brand was actually Aviva, but it was basically like Nerf, these foam baseball bats, and it was a set. You get a bat and a ball. If there was one toy in my childhood I played with the most, it was probably that. My brother and I would go to our neighbor's house every single day of the summer and just play baseball.
Came in red and blue.
We had the red one, I think, and then they expanded the one. It was called the Sound Swing. It had a little hard ball in the middle. When you swung, it popped up and hit the top, so it made it sound like crack, like you'd really crack the ball. So it was just perfect for our yard. Like, we used tennis balls, and if you used an aluminum bat or a wooden bat, the ball would fly into the next county. But these foam bats and a tennis ball were just perfect for the for the dimensions we had to play with. And it was literally every day. Just grab our bats, head down the street to Jeff's house, and we were playing baseball all day.
Okay, final thoughts on Nerf here. It doesn't sound like you guys have figured out yet that this is supposed to be in the top 10.
But it's also a little too much. It's too broad. Is it?
The Nerf.
Sports equipment,
okay.
darts, or
Nerf guns. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm pressing on. Nerf guns and darts. Being able to shoot Nerf things at each other. It's huge. Every house with a kid has it.
Let's throw it in the pile and circle around back.
Our pile is increasing.
Yeah.
We have a big, huge pile.
Some of the other ones on the pile are starting to look pretty stupid now that Nerf's next to it. All right, Cliff.
Yes, I'm just going to throw one of my top 3 out there. 19.
Still a couple of biggies out there not mentioned yet.
I would say so.
Yeah, I think one of them's about to get mentioned because I even have one right here. Old Manny Faces himself. Motu, Masters of the Universe.
Now you can imagine all the power in the universe. The Masters of the Universe collection. 23 pieces, each sold separately. There's He-Man and these heroic action figures. Skeletor and the Warriors of Evil, and 4 fighting creatures. Castle Grayskull, Point Dread, and the Talonfighter. You put them together. And battle machines like the Attack Track, batteries not included. What would you do with all the power in the universe? He-Man, Skeletor, and all other items from the Masters of the Universe collection, each sold separately. From Mattel.
Guys, this was a huge... There's Skeletor. Russ has got a Skeletor. He's got cooler ones than I do. He's got a He-Man. He's probably even got battle... Look at that.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to... Hold on. Make it work. I got tongue
with the Hordak skirt.
Snakeman.
Yeah,
Snakeman. Yeah. But yeah, Masters of the Universe. This was huge. I got to throw it out there. To me, I thought this was a no-brainer.
I agree.
It came out. It came out in, I think, by Castle Grayskull. Is dated 1981. I was thinking 82, the original line with the mini comics.
1982.
1982, the mini comics. Yeah, this was.
It's actually a DC comic, right? I mean, the Superman and Superman's on the cover.
I'm gonna share my screen right here. Some of you have seen this already. This is my own Castle Grayskull. My wife bought me for Christmas a few years ago as a fun gift. and that I'm working on completing here. Everything works, and I'm only missing the little pistol and the sword here for my weapons rack. But that is mine right there, that I've been working on this week. So yeah, that's it right there.
I can't think of another toy line where nearly every character did something different. Like most toys, they all kind of do the same thing. This one, they invented characters that stretched, characters that their heads flipped around, their heads expanded. Like every character had a different action about it. So they had to like basically reinvent the wheel with every new line that came out. It's kind of incredible.
It spawned She-Ra, so
yeah. Which, at one time was, I think, probably even more popular there for a while, the cartoon, than the He-Man cartoon, because the He-Man cartoon went off when She-Ra showed up. But yeah, this is, I don't know what more there is to say about it. We still have, there are companies out now today that are still manufacturing Motu figures. I think Super 7 has a great line of the, I think it's the Filmation line, comes in, looks like the original packaging, but they re-sculpted, remolded the figures and added some too from the cartoon, because the cartoon was huge for me. Like I said, I'm an idiot kid. I bought into all that.
Yeah.
But this was the first one that I think the cartoon was based on the toy that already existed.
Yeah. It was. I mean,
it's a rich man's Thundar the Barbarian.
What was it? Ula the Mock?
The Mukluk?
No idea.
Ukla the Mook.
Yeah.
So what do you guys, are you voting on?
I'm all in on Motu.
This was my number 2 of the top 10. I had a ton of them, and it was, as far as being creative and having lots of play sets, lots of vehicles, plus a free little comic book with everyone you got that expanded the story and gave their origin story a lot of times, so you got to learn who the characters were.
I had it up there with G.I. Joe, yeah.
So all three of you obviously had this in your top 10. It's nowhere near my top 10, but it absolutely is a shoe-in, makes it in. It's going to be the 4th one locked into our top 10, it sounds like, right?
Seth, you should have built some Lego homes for some Masters of the Universe figures, and I mean, you would have been set.
I might have been on board. Lego.
Hey, Lego's on there, man. Let's see. So now it's Russ. What do you got?
He's got props.
We have Bumblebee.
How many Bumblebees do you have?
Tired of losing battle after battle in the sky, the Autobots create the ultimate robot jet. Jetfire.
Transformers. More than meets the eye.
But the evil Decepticons have a secret new weapon. Shockwave.
The Transformers. Robots in disguise.
Shockwave will stop him!
The Transformers.
From Hasbro.
How many Transformers do you have?
Oh, man. I don't even know.
A lot.
Here's the G1 Bumblebee. Yeah. So I don't have an extreme amount, but I have what I've actually collected are the oversized Transformers. Like this Bumblebee is actually, I mean, he's like 8 inches tall. I mean, he's nowhere near the right. G1 size. Their scales were all over the place with the toys. I mean, you know, Devastator was like 8 inches, 9 inches tall or something like that, and Optimus Prime was like 5 inches. They just didn't line up with the cartoons.
Well, they were different toy lines, right?
Right.
In Japan, so that they mashed them all together, and whatever, they were all different sizes.
Right. Takara Tomy, manufactured the toys, and then they paired up with who was, I don't remember.
Hasbro.
Hasbro. I mean, it's just insane. Just what they did with, being able to actually turn a vehicle into a robot.
Yeah, the engineering is
insane.
Second to none as far as toys. Like to be able to do that, and it's not just one. It's many, many different ways of doing multiple, creations. It's a phenomenal line. I was too absorbed in G.I. Joe at the time to have very many Transformers, but I mean, it is a tale as old as time with Ka-Pow.
The original Ka-Pow.
It was G.I. Joe versus Transformers.
Go ahead, Jordan, to the new listeners. Go ahead.
Yeah. Dating back to some of our very first episodes, we have a theory that if you were a kid in the 80s, you were either a G.I. Joe kid or a Transformers kid. You could have liked them both. You could have loved them both, but you never liked them equally. You really gravitated toward one rather than the other. And pretty much everyone I've met has admitted one or the other. So
yeah.
Well, see, I loved the Transformers cartoon more than I liked the G.I. Joe cartoon. But the G.I. Joe figures were much more affordable, so I had like every G.I. Joe, where I didn't have very many Transformer figures at all.
They were definitely way more expensive.
Yeah. And not only that, but I mean, they broke a lot easier too if you didn't, G.I. Joe, you put a rubber band, you buy a new rubber band, whatever.
I really liked Transformers as a kid. I loved the cartoon show for, that first 2 seasons. And I think I've told this before. I was one of those kids that went to the movie theater to see Transformers the movie in 1986. And me being me, I came out and I was like, they killed Optimus. They killed almost the entire line in the first 20 minutes. And I was like, nope, I don't like Transformers anymore.
Yep.
So live by the impressionable kid, die by the impressionable kid.
Right.
They just re-released the Transformers the movie in the theater, not too long ago, and people were still mad when they came out because they're like, "Dang it! I remembered, but it was still hard."
Yeah, I that is one of those things the rest of my life I don't know that I will ever forget as like that 8-year-old being like, "No, you killed Optimus. You killed all the Autobots. I don't like Transformers anymore. This is chaos that I can't deal with in my life." But as far as toy lines go, I think especially in the 80s, this is iconic. G.I. Joe Transformers, man.
Yeah, it's not on my list, but I wouldn't argue against it for anyone else's list. This is one of the iconic toys of that era.
Yeah, how strong are you, Cliff? I mean, I'm sure it's on Russ's list, but what?
No,
is it on your list?
Yeah, it's on my list. And I had Transformers toys. Don't get me wrong. I really like Transformers. I didn't have the real expensive Transformers, the bigger ones like Optimus and Megatron and all that. I was one of those kids that what we could afford were the He-Man and the G.I. Joes. So I got the Bumblebees, the there was a little plane. I had some of the planes, but I had some of the Constructicons, and I had quite a few of them that I always enjoyed. So, and the bigger ones were harder to transform a lot of times because they were more intricate and complicated. So I think I like the simplified, smaller ones.
Yeah, I guess for me, it's not in my top 10 favorite toys, but it when I made my top 10, for me it is in the top 10 lines of toys.
Yeah, it or not, this was a revolutionary line.
Yeah, it's not. It was never my favorite. I didn't collect them. I had a couple like everybody else. My kid had maybe 1 or 2 in his life. None of us ever got into it really, but it's undeniable as far as a line of toys. I don't know how it wouldn't be in the top 10. So I have no problem putting it in there.
And it's another one that stayed fresh in pop culture. Love them or hate them, the Michael Bay movies come out every couple of years. There's been different animated incarnations every couple of years. So it's it's every generation since then has known what the Transformers are.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's locked in there. Jordan.
All right, I get next pick. I gotta say GoBots. No.
Leader 1.
I'm gonna go with a little more recent toy line. I'm gonna say Marvel Legends.
Standing at 14.5 inches tall. This figure features over 30 points of articulation with an impressive range of motion, allowing you to get him in some really dynamic poses. This figure has awesome deco, even has some great textures, from his pants to his skin, even the detail on his face.
Started out at Toy Biz and has moved to Hasbro in later years. It started off, there was a line called Spider-Man Classic, and it was the first one that started. It packaged all of them with a comic book in behind and a cool base for them to stand on. And then they said, oh, this will work for Spider-Man. Let's do it for all these Marvel characters. So in 2002, they started it. And this is the problem with like any of the comic book toys I've had over the years. Most of them don't last that long. Or there's a series, it's Secret Wars. It's based on this one thing, and it's out for a year or two, and then it goes on to the next thing. Well, yeah, Marvel Legends are still coming out from 2002. We're almost into 20 years of these toys. So when Wave 1 came out, I thought they were amazing. It was Captain America, Hulk, Iron Man, and Toad. Toad made it to round 1. I'm not sure how he got out of the gate first, but the stands they had him on. Captain America had an American flag behind it. Some of the later sets, Daredevil's behind like a stained glass church window. The X-Men were on Sentinel parts that they had blown up. So this really cool base that it came with, and they started the Build-A-Figure fad where you'd get the left leg of Galactus or a Sentinel or that kind of thing. And also came packaged with a classic issue of the comic starring the character. So I loved everything about the packaging. I loved the format of it. And the figures were super cool. But when that first wave came out, I'm like, oh, these are really great. But I didn't buy any. Because I'm like, if I start buying these within a couple years, they're going to go on to something else. It'll be a different scale or a different type. But then like Wave 2 came out, and I think it was some Fantastic Four, The Thing, and Human Torch. And those looked really cool. So I was like, I'm going to start buying these. So I found a couple. I never did find the Iron Man, but I did find the Cap and Hulk. So I started buying them back then, and thankfully they knew they had a winner, so they've kept this same the same style going. Because as I said, I'm OCD and I'm not a completist, but I'm close enough where I don't want to collect half the figures I want, and then they'll never make the rest of them. So for the longevity, for the look of them all, the comic accuracy, and the ingenuity, I got to go Marvel Legends.
How many of those do you have?
I'm not sure. They're all in a box right now at the moment. I don't have anywhere to display them, but I've got 25 or 30 of them probably.
Like, who do you have? Like the Avengers, Spider-Man? That kind of stuff.
Spider-Man, Daredevil, Fantastic Four. A lot of the X-Men.
They're excellent. I mean, those figures are incredible. It's a great line of figures. I thought about them, but it's just like, they're aged out as far as playing with them, and I'm sure there are kids playing with these toys. Like, how much do they cost a piece?
They were around the $20, $25 mark.
Yeah. They're 20.
So that's pushing it.
Every once in a while. I mean, I really love the figures. I didn't have them on my list, but I mean, they're definitely. I mean, I'm a comic guy, so I mean, I love the figures.
And I open them all. I rip every single one of them out of the package.
Oh, heck yeah, everything. Well, we'll put it on the side list here.
Right there next to the Kenner Superpowers collection.
Yeah. He's taking it hard, guys.
Especially like DC, every couple years they put out the DC Icons line. Then it becomes the DC Essentials line. Then it's the DC Superpowers. Like, it's just every couple years it's a different thing. It's like, don't break my heart. I gotta stick with one thing that works and keep going.
Yeah.
Not the DC way, Jordan.
The reboot.
That's right.
Well, it's my turn. I guess I don't expect this to make it or anything, but I want to mention one of my top 10 toys I played with growing up. And when, my son was old enough, we moved in this house. We built a big table in the basement for this, and I have a workbench that we worked on these and played with them all the time. We're slot.
A lot of people make racing sets, but AFX Ultra 5 is the closest thing to real racing. Ask the expert.
Talk about real. Only Ultra 5 steers like a real racer.
With Steericon, you can steer into the pit, steer past other cars, steer around the treacherous breakout wall. And only Ultra 5 has a real electronic timer and lap counter.
Ultra 5 steers like a real racer.
That's why Aurora's the one. AFX Ultra 5 from Aurora, the closest thing to real racing.
Slot car track, electric, and sit here and we just build these cars, take them apart and buy high output stuff and better pickups and the right magnets and engines in there and different tires and everything, and just race cars on a slot car track, build different configurations and everything. I played with that like crazy as a kid, and it lasts forever. Just keep your track clean, buy more track, build huge. I mean, some people are model train people. In fact, that never even crossed my mind whether that qualifies as a toy. I mean, I'm sure that's a huge thing, but it's like we were racing slot cars, all the time growing up, and now with my kid, and that was definitely in my top 10. Did you guys ever have slot cars? I would assume.
I had a track. Yeah, I had a track. It wasn't huge or anything, but in a few, maybe 2 or 3 different cars. But yeah, I remember playing with it. Sure.
Oh yeah, I remember. It didn't make my. I didn't even think about it. I don't know why it didn't. But we had the tracks that you build them up the wall.
Oh yeah.
Cars go up the wall, and then you turn the lights off and they glow. It was. And it was always fun, to squeeze that trigger right before it went around a turn and the car goes across the carpet.
Right. You had to balance if you take it seriously, you got to balance the right amount of magnet to stay stuck to the track, but not slow it down and be able to slow down. Oh, you're trying to shoot them off the track. We're racing. We're trying to win, slow down in the corners, and it's so much fun.
I actually, when Toys R Us went out, because it's hard to find those tracks now.
Yeah, but, you have to go to hobby shops and pick up people's that have sold them over the years. Like I just have a bunch of people's old track that I cleaned up.
So I went, and when Toys R Us was going out of business, I went and bought some of those. Is it Anki? The Anki, it's basically it's a flat track.
Yeah.
You have your cars on there and you drive them with your phone. I don't know if I'm guessing it runs to Bluetooth or whatever, but you put the app on your phone and the cars stay on the track just like before, but there's no little like notch from the car that sticks down into a slot on the track or anything.
Right.
And then you have special abilities for the cars. Now my kids aren't old enough. I have them all still in the box, so I'm hoping that we get to play them here eventually, but I bought extra track and everything, but they were really cheap when Toys R Us was going out of business. So.
Oh yeah, we get some glow in the dark track or striping. Get some cars with headlights to shut all the lights off and race them. It's a good time.
I can definitely hear the sound.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Slot car, I'm hearing the sound.
Yeah, you're hearing.
Sometimes you had to clean off the.
Yeah, you gotta get your steel wool
eraser. Yep.
Oh yeah.
That is in my personal top 10, but it doesn't sound like anybody's gonna gung ho about it. But I'll put it on the side list here, and that takes it back to Cliff's turn.
Okay. I'm gonna throw one out there. Valerie mentioned on our Facebook page today that kind of brought some memories back, and you commented on too. And if we're gonna do a girl dink dink toy, dink dink, strawberry shortcake.
Strawberry shortcake, every little girl loves how you smell, loves your wonderful world.
Mothers, it's where lime chiffon, butter cookie, angel cake, cherry cuddler, and sour grapes All of Strawberry's friends are scented and come with their own pets, where they ride in the big berry trolley, play in the garden house, and where lovable new baby dolls, baby strawberry shortcake, apricot, and lemon meringue blow sweet-smelling make-believe kisses. Bring your little girl to see Strawberry Shortcake's wonderful
Very
world.
popular.
It's from Kenner.
And back in the 80s, late 70s, 80s, I'm not sure. Somebody should look that up. I'm not going to. But much like Valerie, she shared, all these pictures of things that my sister had all that stuff too. Just all the kitchen thing. And we had sheets and all the little figures. At the time, she collected the figures of Strawberry Shortcake and all those, and they smelled. I remember they each smelled like Strawberry Shortcake was.
Right, strawberries.
There was blueberry muffin and apricot and all them. I don't know characters beyond that, but then there was
lemon meringue, maybe.
Oh, that sounds right. My mom decided that I was collecting Smurfs, and she would buy me when she'd get my sister those, she'd get me Smurfs. And I think they sold them like Hallmark or something. And every time she went there, I must have 50 different Smurfs. I didn't even know there was that many, but that was when the cartoon was on, and but
it was a line. I didn't have a sister, but my cousin, her and I were the same age. We were, she was the closest thing I had to a sister, and that was the one thing I remember her always toting around was that collection, all the dolls, the Strawberry Shortcake, and I remember this. I remember the smells and the bed sheets and that whole mess. It was a huge, popular, I'd say early to mid 80s line. Of course it had a cartoon. But yeah, I think
they're out now. You can go to Walmart and buy them now.
Wow.
They redid them. So
everything's
coming back. So
right. But it's a timeless concept. I mean, as far as toy lines go. But I just thought I was like, well, what's a Ka-Pow girl line? It's not really Barbie.
That's what I was gonna say. It's like obviously the number one known is Barbie, and a lot of that is being able to dress them up. That's a lot of fun with that, is being able to buy clothes and put them on and stuff. But there's other products that you can do that too. A lot. I mean, all kinds of dolls have different clothes, and she, put out Cabbage Patch dolls. That was the biggest thing at that time. I remember my people were making their own. My grandma would buy the heads and make bodies for them. And
sell them on the black market.
Head, save the money.
Cabbage Kids.
We all got Cabbage Patch Kids for Christmas that one year, and it just like.
You still have yours?
No. Well, we had them all sitting on the couch with my brother, who was a baby at the time. There's a picture of all the Cabbage Patch dolls and him. He's the only one we kept. But we just liked his outfit. But you could dress them up, things like. And now there's Build-A-Bear. You go Build-A-Bear, and you can change the outfits on that. I think that's a very popular product. Huge.
Yeah, definitely. That would be more our kids' generation,
right?
But yeah, definitely, sure. They're every mall in America, right?
Right, and that's also very boy and girl. Played with Build-A-Bear. You can build anything. Make any kind of. It doesn't have to be a doll baby. It could be a teddy bear. It could be a turtle. Now they've got a baby Yoda that you can order from Build-A-Bear. Anyway, I'm not.
But anyways,
it's funny that my experience with Strawberry Shortcake is very similar. Where I had a cousin who was older than me, so all her old Strawberry Shortcake toys were still at her house. When we visited them, they didn't have a lot of kids' toys, but she had these Strawberry Shortcakes, and I immediately wanted to go play with them. And like it became like a running joke, like what's wrong with Jordan? What's with these girl toys? But like they were cool. I remember the play set was like a tree.
You were just woke.
Yeah, but they were interesting. They were cool. They had different personalities. The play set. So it was a great one. I knew it was a girl toy, but it was still cool, and it was the only thing they had to play with. So,
I mean, they had big heads, but they were about the size of a GI Joe, but they just had big heads. I mean,
I wish my GI Joe smelled nice and fruity.
Come on, Scarlett, step your game up.
All right.
So, what are we doing? Are we throwing this in the pile, or are we just throwing it out?
For now, we'll put it in the side pile here. Decide how serious we are.
All right, so let's go ahead and just knock it off the list.
From Kenner's Star Wars collection comes the Stormtrooper, the Sand People, and all 20 action figures, including new Hammerhead, Snaggletooth, and more, each sold separately. And now, Boba Fett, Star Wars villain, with his laser rifle. Boba Fett is not yet available in stores, but you can get him free with 4 proofs of purchase from any Star Wars action figures. Details on specially marked packs at participating stores. Offer ends May 31st. Star Wars action figures sold separately from Kenner.
I'm kind of confused why nobody has said Star Wars figures yet.
So we didn't have to use it as our pick.
We like being dramatic, okay?
We all agree with you.
Yeah.
Well, that was easy. Okay, next.
Yeah, I remember I was just a wee lad there in the late 1970s, back when there was a Kresge's there on Putnam Street across from JCPenney's, and I would walk over there. My grandma worked at JCPenney's. I'd walk across the street into Kresge's 5 and dime because I'm 100 years old, and that the K in Kresge's is what
you got a nickel for the picture show.
Yeah,
took a streetcar downtown.
Yeah. The K in Kresge's, if you don't know, that's Kmart. What Kmart became, but I go across there and get my original Star Wars figures back in 1970. I want to say 77, but it probably wasn't until 78 when you could actually get them. But, Cliff and I don't know about you guys, but Cliff and I were both spoiled when it came to Star Wars stuff. We probably had everything. And
yeah, definitely. Russ has got the Mandalorian in the Black Series he's showing off right now.
Is that what? Hold that up again. Hold that up.
This is, it's one of the newer figures.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Man, I love that show.
And just groundbreaking in the way things were merchandised just in general. Famously, George Lucas took a deal where he made less money up front but made more money on the merchandising and just opened the floodgates to the property to be everywhere soon after the movie opened.
And they kind of paved the way for a lot of the action figures we've already talked about earlier.
Definitely. This was, you're exactly right. This paved the way.
This was what started that scale of figures.
All the figures and
revolutionized the entire market with that 3 3/4 inch figure. And I mean, it was just gold.
When a figure's that small, it's easy to fit into a vehicle. So then you've got spaceships, you've got land speeders, the sky's the limit on what you can build around it.
Not so easy to play with your mask figures at the same time. We hear,
that's definitely a knock on it, for sure. But
it's a lock. Basically, what we're saying,
it's
a lock. So.
Yeah, we didn't have a lot. Like my parents didn't actually buy a lot of Star Wars figures for us, but my mom went to a yard sale and bought a huge box of somebody else.
Probably the yard sale my mom sold mine at.
Or my mom, yeah.
So
mine disappeared.
It's funny because my middle brother still has them. I mean, he doesn't have that big box anymore, but he has all the ships and figures and everything that we got back in that had to have been the late 80s, mid to late 80s.
The dark times, yeah.
Yeah.
It ran from 78 to 85, 86, the original Kenner line. Over 100 figures, countless, the Falcon, Slave One, just the Death Star playset, Land
Ewok
of the Jawas. Oh my God, the Ewok Village. They're all the AT-AT Walker. I mean, just amazing toys and playability. Number one on my list, if not everybody's here. So I don't know. I mean, I could talk about it all night long, but I don't know that really much needs to be said with it.
And then had a nice comeback in the 90s with a whole new wave of figures and has never slowed down since.
Yeah, the Power of the Force 2, I remember, and I've got a whole box of those out in the garage, actually, still carded. But I remember when those came out, and I was like in high school, and I remember seeing them, and I was like, oh, that's cool, but I'm not buying toys. And my parents went out and just like, I guess out of their nostalgia for buying me Star Wars Kenner figures, bought a bunch of them up. And eventually I was like, well, I'll be a speculator and I'll buy some and throw them in a box. And they've sat there ever since. But I remember this is one that I didn't have Star Wars figures until I'm not sure what birthday it was. I remember being at my grandmother's house. My birthday's in November, and she ordered them out of the Sears catalog, and I got like the first, I think the original 12 were what came out in that early bird. Well, maybe not the early bird, but the original 12 that came out with A New Hope, or just Star Wars as we called it. And then I got 10 of those in a set. I got everything but the Tusken Raider and I think the Death Star Commander. But those were the first ones I had. Loved them. I played with them so much, like my original Luke, Han, Leia. All the heads eventually broke off, and then, so I had to go out, and then I had Empire, Han and Leia and Luke and Jedi ones and all these different because I played with them to death until I killed the figures and had to go out and buy whatever version I didn't have.
This isn't even your pick, Cliff. You picked Strawberry Shortcake.
Sorry.
Yeah. We were going to back you on Strawberry Shortcake, but
yeah.
All right.
So go ahead and break that one down.
Yeah, it's on the main list. So moving on, Jordan.
We haven't got through my whole top 10, but I think the biggest one I've got left is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
That was the only other.
It's the new wacky action wind-up turtles. Who you calling wacky? How about break fighting Raphael, who spins to attack with foot stars and Ratbola? That's not wacky. Well, what about sewer swimming Donatello, who gets into the swim with spear and scuba jet? Or rock and roll Michelangelo with spinning action arm and weapons? Well, now we're talking wacky. No, we're talking trouble. Because here comes the Foot Clan's Mouser, stomping and chomping. Why don't this? From Playmates.
The one I was surprised, felt like
I was so surprised
going to bring up.
My favorite turtle. I was always in the reflection. It's Michelangelo.
Yeah, I see the.
Yeah, there you go. We see it.
So a black and white independent comic in 1984 was turned into a cartoon in 1987, and this toy line in 1988. Another one. I was gaga for the cartoon. Had to have all the toys. The villains were, they were mutated, so they had all kinds of crazy villains, and also friends and foes throughout the line. The big sewer playset was fun. The turtle van was fun.
The blimp. Yeah, great villains. You had your Shredder and your Rocksteady and your Bebop, but then you had like Baxter Stockman and Krang and all these crazy characters. So
Casey Jones was always my favorite. I don't know why. Casey Jones, and then Stan Sakai's Usagi Yojimbo.
Oh yeah.
The Rabbit Samurai. Mm-hmm. Those guys.
We had a Christmas gift exchange. I just remembered in maybe second, third grade. I don't know whatever year that was. And every kid brought in a gift $5 or under, and they were wrapped. And I remember whatever kid brought it in the paper had ripped, and I saw it was a Turtles toy. So I'm picking that one because who knows what these other idiots brought in here? But if that's a Turtles toy, I'm getting it. And it was Usagi. I was like that. So I remember the day I got my Usagi paper.
Wow.
Yeah, definitely. This is I expected this to be on the list.
So what, you guys think this is definitely has to be on the list? The main list, all three of you?
We're not going to break your legs, but,
Yeah, I think for Ka-Pow, I think it does. Or Jordan won't be our friend anymore.
So according to I've got 7 definites. Is that correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I'm being pretty lenient here with I just like, okay, He-Man, okay, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So, I mean, we need to put Nerf on there. Nerf is huge.
Is Nerf bigger than Barbie?
For us, I would think.
What's your last pick here on our?
I'm not even gonna. I mean, I don't have.
You're just gonna pick Nerf again.
Yeah, I don't feel strongly enough. Like I'm gonna be able to convince you guys of something. I could list off a bunch. We need to start talking about a bunch of things that maybe aren't gonna be on the list, but I think we've. Exhausted.
How did these guys not make the list?
I have. That's what I was going to bring up. Just regular army men, but it's once these action figures came out, we quit really going crazy with the army men, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, they still make them. I mean, you buy huge bags of them.
I got some on the table right here. We're playing war games with them.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that I never played with Army Men after because I always had action figures.
What do you think spawned like Warhammer and all the other little miniatures? I mean,
I mean,
if you feel strongly about it, you should have nominated.
Oh no, I don't feel that strongly on it. That's why it's in my honorable mentions.
Well, let's look up what our Facebook friends had to say.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Let's see. Jared commented Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles because we were big on that. We kind of co-collected those. We would each get them. We were both at the right age where we each got turtle toys and just kind of threw them all together. We had, let's see, I think the first comment was from Eric Robinson, voted for the original Kenner Star Wars. Says for nostalgia alone. And then Leandra Smith seconded that with a vote. And then she threw in the Fisher-Price Little People.
Yeah.
Including the farm, the house, the school, the plane. I mean, those were iconic from the.
Yep.
Oh yeah. I mean, who didn't have?
You guys remember Weeble? Have you guys ever even heard of Weeble Wobbles?
Weebles, yeah.
Yeah, Weebles wobble, but they don't fall down.
That's right.
Yep.
And Jared also threw out. He said definitely dinosaurs and threw a picture on there.
Dinosaurs.
And it was these weird little cavemen guys who rode around on dinosaurs.
I don't know that I'd ever seen those before.
I had never seen that. I mean, I've seen dinosaur toys a million times, but who knows if they were those?
Yeah, they were some weird. Yeah, I don't think they were just some weird thing we got somehow. But yeah, they were fun. But I remember they were called. I had to look it up. I didn't even remember the name of it, so it was not going to go on my list. But Bone Age, they were the dinosaur toys. They were all skeletons, and a little more historically accurate because the cavemen would not have interacted with real dinosaurs. But like you got little cavemen from the Ice Clan and the Lava Clan and the Stone Clan, and each of them had a dinosaur to ride on. And then the dinosaurs, like, you put them together, but you could also take them apart and like put T-Rex legs on a Brontosaurus. And like they were building figures, but they were also action figures. So they didn't last long enough. Looking them up, it was from Kenner, but they came out in 1987. They said Kenner was scrambling because all these classic toys were kind of nearing the end of their run, and they wanted a hot new thing, but this was not it. It did not make up for all the classic 80s toys. So yeah, we had a lot of dinosaur toys nominated, and then Valerie Lowe chipped in with quite a few suggestions, starting with strawberry shortcake. Let me find it here. She threw a few the things she had. A Poochie Pup. That one didn't ring a bell.
Nope.
Cabbage Patch Kids, of course. Rainbow Bright.
Remember that? Yeah.
Yeah, that was a big one.
Oh, the Rainbow Bright cereal. Wow, I just remembered that. That was
yeah.
Remember the doll? I had sisters, so they had all these weird dolls. of course, they all had the one eye that didn't work. You know, their eyes are supposed to close when they lay down, but I had a Fiero too that one headlight wouldn't close either.
They made a Sandy Duncan doll.
Yeah.
A Sandy Duncan.
We can't keep doing this. We're gonna get canceled. Then there was a. And one of them dolls, you had a string in its back, and you pulled, and their hair got shorter, and you could pull their ponetail out and make it long and short. So.
Sandy Duncan doll must have been after the cat from outer space.
Yeah. There was all kinds of stuff. Go on.
Jared also threw out pound puppies.
Well, I heard there's a story.
Yeah. All right, let me tell the story. We had pound puppies, and we also had the accoutrement that went with them. There were hats and jackets and costumes to dress up your pound puppy. And I wrote plays for the pound puppies to put on. So the pound puppy, we dressed them in costume and then put on a pound puppy play. I think the most acclaimed one was about bullying. It was an anti-bullying message. The mean pound puppy.
The most acclaimed one.
Yeah. I was just trying to slip that in there.
Was this like a traveling show? You went around the neighborhood? They're like, do the one.
The one that didn't.
Places, everyone.
The one that didn't put people to sleep, maybe. I think the last comment was about rescue heroes.
I remember those.
Yeah, that's more newer.
Nephews had a ton of those. These are the ones based on policemen, firefighters, EMTs, so kind of real life heroes, but jazzed up into the superhero. They had
a cartoon.
Yeah.
And my son loved them. He's 19 now. So these came out when he was at that age. And oh my God, we had a ton of them. We had a ton of the VHS. VHS copies of the different episodes and stuff. He played with those. They were great toys because they were durable. They had a great look and costume to them. Not a lot of articulation, but not everything does. Russ has an Alf doll.
Yeah.
Who doesn't have an Alf doll?
Everybody
should have an Alf doll.
Willie!
Thank you very much, all our Facebook friends, for commenting on that. We love, that reminded us of some things we may have forgotten. We like interacting in that way. So anytime we do something like this, please give us your suggestions as well. We very much appreciate it.
I'm going to read some stuff off. We've got Stretch Armstrong. Super Soakers, Tonka trucks and such. Truck. Huge. You guys remember fashion plates? I remember my sisters had these fashion plates. You laid down different outfits. You could put pants with shirts and hats or whatever, and then you'd put paper over that and rub it with a crayon.
I've got a new thing for my top 10. Yeah, that would have been. It was called the Mighty Men and Monster Maker, and you could create superheroes and monsters and things. Yeah, wow.
Yeah. Then there was Shrinky Dinks. Not really a toy much, but cook them in the oven or whatever. Yeah. Rockets. We used to have model rockets and shoot those suckers off and stuff. Remote control cars, like the Tamiya grasshoppers and stuff. I'm a little more high end toy, but we used to race those in our neighborhood. The Evel Knievel stunt cycle was a great toy when I was a kid. Wind that thing up.
Trying to find again.
Yeah, and then $6 Million Man and all those kind of things. And of course, when my son was a kid, they had all the Pokemon and Bakugan and Tamagotchi, all that stuff.
Yeah,
we had to buy all that crap. Remember that helicopter vertibird thing? It was like a helicopter that just went around in a circle, and you just had a remote and you could try to land it and stuff. It would just basically go up and down and go in a circle. It was like a remote control helicopter, didn't go anywhere. That was big. It was big. Trust me. Go ahead. Anything you guys have?
My honorable mentions, the last one of my top 10, I've had starting lineup figures, the sports action figure.
Yeah, I had a bunch of those when they first came
starting
out.
Lineup.
Yeah. Something we'd never seen before, a way to have your favorite athlete involved.
Do you guys remember in the 80s
Oh, yeah.
This was always big for me because it was made by a company called Russ, the Rush Troll.
A troll, yeah.
And it's funny because now they make my kids got these in their Happy Meals today, and it reminded me, I'm like, the Trolls.
Yeah.
Yes,
but
I
I had
in the 80s. It's right back to the movie just came out, the new Trolls movie. So
they have a walk around character at Universal Studios in Florida, based off those new Trolls movies, and one of them, I don't know the name of it, but it's a guy in a suit, but his big thing is he farts glitter. So that's fun.
That's awesome. Mr. Potato Head.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it started out as a toy back in the 50s or 60s where you'd actually get the components and actually stab them into an actual potato. The actual plastic potato didn't come around until like the 70s. It was like 20 or 30 years people sticking things in potatoes.
Yeah, Michael used to dig up. That was the original toy he dug up was a potato. That's where he got the idea to bury his toys. He had some mentions. He wanted us to mention.
Talking about old school references for this show. That's another old reference.
I hope I got these right. He wanted us to mention Slivercocks, Captain Flower, and the Soul Air of the Fuhrer. So those are some of his favorites.
What?
What you get, Michael, for not coming on?
Yeah, that's pretty close.
I may have mispronounced some of those.
Yeah. One of his Captain Power and the Soldiers of the Future. I had that line. That was a great line. You could put the figure into the ship and play the special VHS cassette tapes, and it would have an adventure, and you would fly your ship, and it had a little trigger with an infrared, and you would shoot it at the screen, and like you would get hit also. You would score points, but you would get hit also, and if you get hit like 3 times, your figure would eject from the ship. It was a cool toy. It was at that time.
I remember the ads for that in like every comic book, and never quite understanding how it would work.
Yeah, I had all that. That was a good line.
How much time's left, Cliff?
I don't know. Enough.
Okay.
I want to run through mine real quick because I've got a few on here. We didn't mention Silverhawks.
I just said it. Slivercocks.
Oh. They were.
I thought we were going back to the Adult Mart stuff.
Yeah.
They were like metallized figures. Had a cartoon, great line. I think I've maybe got, but let me get it on here real quick.
Tallyhawk.
Yeah, the big ship. You could put the whole team had a ship that split apart. It was called the Mirage.
Yeah. Bad guy was
Moonstar. Moonstar. Yes. Yeah. So I really loved this line. That was a lot of fun. And then I had Thundercats, of course. LJN did those original figures. That was a set I had to go around and
that's coming back. Kevin Smith's doing that Netflix show.
Oh, no. He's doing the He-Man show.
Oh, he's doing He-Man. I thought there's someone else that's doing...
there is a show right now, yeah.
Yeah, it's on Cartoon Network.
And people do not like it because it's like the Teen Titans Go. It's very silly.
Yeah. Tape. But back in the 80s, that was a great line. Those were fun figures, not, at the good 80s line. Then I had, from my son's childhood, we collected, he loved that Justice League show that came out in like the 2000s, or early 2000s, and then it led into Justice League Unlimited. That was a big line, had a ton of DC characters in it that were it was very playable. And it was the first time a lot of those characters had a toy. And then Centurions.
Centurions were some of my favorites.
That was a really fun line. You could buy the different kits, the weapons and stuff that stuck onto the figures. And then Battle Beasts, they were little mini figures like animals, and they firewood, different elements. Everybody they were on different teams that were, I like. Visionaries was another one in that same category. Yeah. They had the holograms on them that didn't last very long. And My Little Pony was a huge Talk about girl toys. That was a huge line. So that's it for me, I think.
You didn't say sectors or sectors?
I was sitting here thinking of sectors too. Yeah, I mean they had that spider or whatever that was a puppet
in the big castle or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I had Mad Balls. Everybody remembers those.
Yeah.
And when I just thought of, somebody said the word something Spawn something, and I forgot. What about the Spawn? The McFarlane Spawn figures.
Yeah.
Kind of began the adult market collector for, they weren't to play with, they were to pose and look cool. So, yeah, McFarlane made a lot more money off of Spawn toys than he did comic books. So
he's doing a Kickstarter right now he's got over $2 million to re-release his original Spawn figure.
I just bought a McFarlane figure today for some D&D.
So I've got a few more here.
Go ahead.
Old. Yeah. Got the Etch-a-Sketch.
Oh yeah.
The hula hoop and
the boomerang
and the Care Bears.
Oh yeah. Care Bears.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
You guys remember the Popples?
Yeah.
Oh
yeah. The little stuffed animal that they folded in on themselves and turned into a ball.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So we have 7 we've already put in our top 10, right?
Yes.
Well, we put Nerf. Nerf makes it 8.
Okay. So we have 2 we need to get in there.
2 spots left, and I'll read off the side list we have here. The DC Kenner figures, Mask, Play-Doh, Real Ghostbusters, Marvel Legends, Tycho Slot Cars, Strawberry Shortcake, Build-A-Bear. I think the only other thing we've done.
Thoughts? What stands out?
On a more diverse list, something like My Little Pony or Strawberry Shortcake I think would be a no-brainer, but depends on if we want.
I want to be like, we have something like that, but then it is going to stick out like a sore thumb on this list.
Right, yeah, you don't put Barbie in there. And none of us are saying Barbie. Or my
I was actually, it does stick out, but I think it sticks out for a reason.
I don't have a problem with it. I definitely remember there was plenty of freaking Strawberry Shortcake going on at my house.
Yeah, most of it, we're all telling stories about Strawberry Shortcake. We have memories of it. It was something that, impacted us.
It's still around, So,
Possible.
What's the other one? Then what's the other one?
Ladies. One for the ladies.
What's the other one then? The last slot.
What I forget what the other.
I'm going to read them off again, and each of you listen. I'm going to read them off again, and each of you just think which one of those, and we'll see if we have a double up on any of them. DC Kenner figures, Mask, Play-Doh, Real Ghostbusters, Marvel Legends, Tycho Slot Cars, Build-A-Bear. I don't even know why I keep saying that, but it's written down there.
Well, I picked the Kenner Superpowers line, so that's the one that stands out for me. I'm just
right. So over Mask.
Yeah.
So we can take Mask off that. All right.
Yeah. Personally, I would say Ghostbusters, but in that list, I think the Superpowers figures are the most important, the most iconic, the ones that people remember.
Yeah, I'll agree. They're the oldest. I mean, that's the oldest set. I mean,
is that the DC set or just?
Yeah, I think the only thing you could compare is like maybe the Migos.
That's what I was going to say. That's what I always hear about, the Migos.
But I didn't even know Migos existed
right
until a few years ago. I wasn't old enough.
They weren't as popular.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they are now because they're collectible, but back then they weren't.
Yeah, and if as a child, if you would have given me a Migo figure, one of those Superpowers figures, shoot, that Migo thing, that could have been a girl's toy.
You need some Jedi mind trick to get me to vote for a DC toy line over the Marvel toy line, but hey, I think it works.
All right, so we have 10. I gotta say though, if it wasn't for me, and I guess Russ did bring up Hot Wheels, we would have nothing but friggin' action figures on this list. It's crazy. Okay, here's what you do. I'm going to read off all 10 of these, so make sure you have them written down, all 10 of our top 10, and then you're gonna rank them yourself. And
you want us to just put it in the chat and send it to you?
Sure, however it works. Rank them, 1 to 10, and I'll add them up, tell you what it is. So here's the list: Hot Wheels, G.I. Joe, Lego, He-Man, Transformers, Star Wars, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Nerf, Strawberry Shortcake, and DC.
I'm glad I already wrote those down because that was very fast.
Me too.
All right, we got nine minutes, so we can edit this out later doing the math.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got the final results?
Yes. Oh my God, I never could have done that in the 4 minutes or whatever I had left. That would
I saw the beads of sweat forming.
Oh man, no way. All right. So here is our official Ka-Pow top 10 toy lines of all time. And we're not just blowing smoke here with our number 10. We're giving some, credence to a wide toy line here that, Valerie brought up to us today to remind us of how we all remember it. It's still around. So, Strawberry Shortcake, that line of toys is cemented in pop culture toys, and I have no problem with it being on our list, but it did only make number 10.
But did any of you guys think going into this we would have Strawberry Shortcake on the list?
No, that's what I mean. If she wouldn't have brought it up today, it wouldn't be on here. So Congrats, you got it on the list. You made a good argument. You reminded us of it.
Yeah.
We need Valerie back on the podcast sometime to straighten us out. Okay, so that was our number 10. Number 9, we got the Kenner DC line, what was that called?
It was the Kenner Superpowers line.
Yes, okay.
Okay, so those were the last 2 added. That makes sense. They would be the bottom 2. Yes. I'm not sure what the rest of the list is, but those 2 aren't surprising.
Yeah, it's they're all pretty evenly spread in points. It's not like crazy until the top. In 8th place is the Transformers line. Definitely deserve to be on there. I'm surprised it got beat out by the next one. Now, we actually had technically a tie for 6th place. So I had to come up with a tiebreaker. And I'm the ultimate authority here.
You don't have to tell us. You could have just done
right.
It. Yeah, well, I'm being full disclosure. 2 people had one of these in their top 5, so that one edges out the other one for me. So, in 7th place, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Technically, it was tied with Nerf, but it was in 2 people's top 5 for Nerf. So Nerf is in 6th place. Okay, we're at our top 5 toy lines. In 5th place, we have Hot Wheels, cars, Matchbox, Hot Wheels, whatever. In 4th place, you guys loved this, Masters of the Universe toys. Wow. 4th place.
Seems a little low.
Yeah. That may be my fault. In 3rd place, Lego.
Seems a little high.
That may also be my fault. 2nd place, the G.I. Joe line, and no surprise, in first place, Kenner Star Wars line.
Yeah.
What a list.
I put Star Wars as low as I could to help edge G.I. Joe, but I couldn't put it like too far down my list.
Right.
I had to be fair about it.
Yep. So we did it.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun for me. I don't know about everybody else or the listeners or whatever, but
and we don't care
or whatever.
No, thank you for indulging me.
Yeah.
Any day that I get to talk about toys is a good day.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. So yeah,
is this where you want to throw out your weird question?
Oh, thank you. I completely forgot.
Yes, but how could we forget?
So what is the top toy company, the manufacturer? What do you guys think? I know what I think.
Kenner. You think Kenner?
Well, Kenner. It comes down between Kenner, Mattel, and Hasbro, right? I mean, those are.
I think it has. Yeah, I think it has to. I mean, Playmates did Turtles, and LJN has done a lot of stuff, Wrestlers and Thundercats, stuff like that.
We never really talked about wrestling figures or anything, did we?
No.
I wasn't into that really, but somebody was.
Yeah,
listeners. Sure. Whatever.
Check my shirt here. Jewish lightning. Yeah, for me it's Kenner. So what do you guys think?
Hasbro would be my first thought. Just thinking, like you said, the Revolution tie-in when you throw in G.I. Joe, Transformers, Mask, ROM,
Visionaries, Micronauts.
Man,
yeah, definitely. They're really high up there. Probably number 2 for me.
But I don't have a strong enough opinion to argue with you. So
yeah, I don't have a strong enough opinion to argue one way or the other. I mean, Mattel, with Barbie, I mean, they are pretty big too. But did Kenner kind of fizzle out there?
Well, Mattel did Masters of the Universe too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Mattel, are they owned by? I think they're owned by Hasbro now.
Oh wow.
I'm not exactly sure, but I want to say that.
Is Kenner making anything new?
No, Kenner is also owned by Hasbro now. So
basically Hasbro. It's Hasbro.
They bought up everybody else.
America. We just have one company.
You got a favorite designer, Cliff, or engineer, vice president?
No. I wouldn't go that far. However, Kenner was
the sock guy. I like the sock guy.
The sock guy, yeah, with made the
Yoda coat or Jawa coat. Yeah, that's my guy.
But Kenner was they were in Cincinnati, Ohio. The building is actually occupied by the Kroger Company now, another Cincinnati company. But yeah, I mean, they were pretty local flavor for us to be such a strong player in that industry for so long. So anyways, that was just, I just wondered. But yeah, this was fun for me. Hope it was for everybody else. Russ, I'm sure you've got some stuff to plug while you're here. You might as well.
I'm good. I not really too much.
For listeners that don't know Russ, Russ does a lot of coloring. He's a colorist for quite a few. You've done several comic lines now that you've worked on.
Well, yeah, most of the stuff that I work on is indie comics, which, I mean, with everything going on today, indie comics seem to be doing pretty well compared to everybody else fighting over, who's distributing comics and who's not and everything else. So, I color for Marat Michaels, who is best friend buddies with Rob Liefeld, who has a Snake Eyes comic coming out here in a couple months, not Jordan?
He does, yes.
Snake Eyes Dead Game. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But yeah, I color some indie comics for Marat, Naughty and Nice, and Battle Freight and Yeti. They have a naughty cover and a nice cover, so it's fun stuff. It's a good side gig. So.
And you put a lot of the stuff you do, even some of the stuff you do just for fun or practice or whatever, out on your Instagram page too.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. It's just at Russ Cass, RussCass. That's my Instagram name, and I appreciate it. This is always fun for me to come on and do this with you guys. You guys are a blast. So
we love having you. So we'll think of something else. Next really fun thing we have. We'll save that one for Russ. Let's bring these other people in for the not fun stuff.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate it. And we appreciate you out there listening. If we left anything off our list, I don't know how we could have, but I'm sure maybe one or two squeaked by us.
No way.
So please let us know if we missed one of your favorites. And we appreciate you. Thank you. My name is Jordan Lowe.
Cliff Barnes.
I'm Seth. Goodbye forever.
See ya.
Ka-Pow, the Pop Cultured Podcast, is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Sounds, music, and clips played during the podcast are property of copyright holders. All original content is property of www.udamwithkpp.com. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and leave a comment. Ka-Pow, the Pop Cultured Podcast, is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, and wherever podcasts can be found. You can connect with us through social media on Facebook, YouTube, at the Ka-Pow Podcast on Twitter, or email the show, Ka-Pow, the Pop Cultured Podcast, @gmail.com. If you really want to go the extra mile, please sign up to be a patron through the Podbean app or our website, www.udamwithkpp.com, to receive special content and early access to some episodes. We are grateful to anyone that chooses to contribute, but please know that most of our content will always remain free, so please continue to like, comment, and share.